وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا في بث حي ومباشر عبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning, Michigan. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues.
Welcome to Radio Baladi here at WNZK AM 690 Radio, broadcasting live out of Detroit, Michigan. I'm Ray Hanania, the special U.S. correspondent for Arab News newspaper at arabnews.com. And I am the host for the U.S. Arab radio program every second Friday of each month. Today, we're going to be interviewing former Congresswoman Marie Newman from Illinois, who represented a district that had the largest concentration of Arab Americans and Palestinians of any congressional district in the country, according to the New York Times. Afterwards, in our second segment, we'll talk with the Reverend Donald Wagner. He's the author of 6 books on the Middle East, including his newest release, Glory to God in the Lowest, which addresses the influence of the evangelical movement on American foreign policy. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll speak with former Congresswoman Marie Newman. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Were you recently at the emergency room, urgent care, or at your doctor's office being told you need a hand, wrist, or elbow specialist? At the Katranji Hand Center, we offer the latest techniques in hand, wrist, and elbow care. From sports injuries to work injuries to everyday hand, wrist, and elbow problems, the specialists at Katranji Hand Center are here to get you back on track. Call us in East Lansing today at 517-332-4263 or visit us at katranjihandcenter.com to schedule your appointment today.
With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at one of America's best fertility clinics, call IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio toll-free at 855-952-9600, 855-952-9600. At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain. Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bottom, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights.
I want to welcome my first guest today, former Congresswoman Marie Newman. Representative Newman was elected to the U.S. Congress in November 2020, serving one term from 2021 until 2023, representing the former 3rd Illinois District, which has one of the largest Arab American populations and the largest Palestinian population of any district, according to the New York Times. Congresswoman Newman was very receptive to the needs of the district's large Arab American, Muslim, and Palestinian community, and I felt she was a very strong voice for their concerns, which often are marginalized in Illinois and in Congress. Newman was forced into a new district with another incumbent Congressman, Sean Casten, who was in Congress for 2 terms, representing a large portion of the new 6th district, which she ran for. Congressman Newman, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. So good to be here.
You spent 2 years, is no short period of time. You ran twice. The first time you almost won. The second, you came very close to winning. This last time, prior to this election, you did very well. And the first question I have to you has to do with the Arab Americans. A lot of Arab Americans tell me that they think you lost because you were so pro-Arab and pro-Palestinians. And I don't know if that's the case, or was it just the result of politics, you running against a politician in the same party, the Democratic Party, with a little more experience, who was more familiar with a large part of the district when they combined the two together. What was it? Was it a combination, or was it, as many Arab Americans believe, you were just a strong voice for Palestinians and that was too much to take?
I think it was multiple things. So that is all to say all of the above, right? Is that, the district changed dramatically. Over 60% of the district was taken away from me, meaning that we were left with 40%. And almost all of the city was taken away from me, where, it was my stronghold. So there was that. There's, kind of the typical Illinois politics shenanigans that went on, that always go on, and you can't cry in your beer about that. You just have to live with that. And then I think it was that I was outspoken on a few topics, and these are topics that the party establishment does not like in general in the nation. And that is, I was very, very outspoken on no corporate PAC money and no corporate money and no corporate influence. That made the party establishment very angry. I was also very outspoken on Medicare for all. And the reason we don't have Medicare for all is because our politicians accept corporate money from healthcare and pharma and all things attached to those topics, right? So, one hands the other. Another area was, I was very outspoken on humanitarian rights. Among those interests were in my district. There were, a preponderance of folks that felt very strongly about, and by the way, I might add, it wasn't just Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim Americans and South Asian Americans that felt strongly on that topic. Here's the little interesting, and you may have seen recently, Ray, the CNN poll, where people to the tune of another 11% in the country are really understanding this issue better and understanding the Palestinian side of this. So it was never that, I was anti-Semitic, or that I was putting down Jewish folks or Israeli citizens. I was critical of the Israeli government, and I was very clear on that. But the problem is that there were folks that didn't like me because I was not fond of corporatized politicians and corporatized elections. I was very strong on Medicare for all and other matters of economic equity. There are many issues in that basket, right? Student debt relief and the like. And then on humanitarian rights, I was very strong in speaking out for, let's be clear about what's really happening on the ground, what the Israeli government is doing. And the problem they had with me, they being the establishment and the corporatized Democrats, was that I have a Jewish husband, I have Jewish kids, and like they didn't have a lot of, so they couldn't call me anti-Semitic, so that was a problem, right?
They would still do it though, even though you.
Yeah, and then I'd go back on their throat, and they'd walk away with their tail between their legs. I mean, I just wasn't having that. That was not going to happen. And so they stopped doing that. And actually, that's helped many people now. They don't do that as much as they used to. That said, I think it's all, mix that in a basket with standard redistricting issues and Illinois shenanigans. And it was a recipe to not win, So,
but they targeted you. They forced you into a fight with another incumbent congressman.
Yeah,
they could have done that to any other district, and your district was the one that, as an Arab American, I felt, wow, she has done more than I even ever expected. You've done a lot of great things on these other mainstream issues, as you pointed out, but on the Middle East, you introduced so many bills to deal with, the human rights for Arab Americans, for Palestinians, and you came from a very strong base. It just seemed like they wanted you out, and they put you in with somebody who.
I agree with you, Ray. I do think that a strong piece of it was that I was finally speaking out for Arab, Muslim, South Asian Americans in a strong way, because they didn't like my position on India either.
Right.
The South, some of the South Asian governments not so great right now. Let's be clear.
Right.
But they did not enjoy a lot of my positions on that front. So I do think that made them angry and added to but there was just a lot of issues that they didn't like. And I was a woman, and, we all know, and I'm just going to say it very clearly, because I can say it very freely now, is that white men over 50 with a lot of money always win. They just do. So I don't know. It just is what it is. And
that's a sad reality.
Yeah, I did not have a lot of money. They knew that. They knew that I would only tell the truth. They knew that I would be transparent. They knew that I would be authentic. And they knew that I could not fundraise as much as others in Illinois. And all of that combined, they saw a soft spot, right? And so what do? Sharks go after the easiest target. And I was the newest to the delegation, and they felt like I should be sacrificed. It is what it is. That said, I am thrilled to be where we're sitting today, and still working on all those issues we talked about. And I wish Illinois 6, its new Congress people, because it's split into 5 pieces, right? So, Congressman Foster, Caston, Garcia, Congresswoman Underwood, and Danny Davis. I wish them all well. And I wish the people of Illinois 6 all well. Like, I think that, please, Godspeed, go on, and God bless. But there were a lot of reasons. But I do think that one of the major reasons was that I spoke out on humanitarian rights and corporate money. And those two things are just always, the first time I started speaking out about corporate money and about the conditions in Palestine and Israel, I remember I got several phone calls, not just from donors, but from other electeds.
I'm wondering why you were going down that road.
Yeah, they thought it was warning / threat, like it was like. Really? Yeah.
Look, I've been in politics forever. I know how brutal it can be, but one of the things that would have helped you was a little, and I don't know what the accurate word is, but I'm going to say a little more political maturity from the Arab American community, if they really understood what they had. I don't believe Arab Americans in the old district and the new district really understood that you were a platform for Arab American rights, in addition to all these other mainstream democratic issues that were, maybe some progressive ones, but I always saw you as a centrist. But I don't think the Arab American community really appreciated you the way they should have. And that's not to say they were bad, but I think they could have understood you a little bit better, and I don't think they did. Is it because they didn't understand you, or is it because our community is divided so badly?
I felt nothing but support. I have to be honest with you, but I earned it over time, right? So going back to 2017, the community did not know me, and they, some didn't trust me, some trusted me. It was all over the place, right? And then by 2019, a lot more trusted me and supported me because I walked the walk and talked the talk, right? So, and then by 2021, I would say that I did have almost unanimity and lots of support, right? But that's because I proved myself. So it's a partnership, right? Is that you have to get the input from the community, and then you have to prove that you are going to be supportive and help solve problems. And I did all of that, right? So I feel very good about the partnership. I don't feel as though I was misunderstood or by any way not supported. Right. I think I was well supported, but it happened over time, right? So right. That's how that works.
Yeah, and I guess I'm talking about an Arab community that we don't have a news media. We really don't. In our district in Illinois, there used to be 2 papers, and unfortunately, you knew the one publisher, Mansour Tadros, who passed away, I think, 3 years ago this month from COVID. Such a good guy.
That he's been gone that long. Yeah.
Yeah, and his newspaper was the only real voice we had. Yeah. Now that's gone. This lack, there are some other publications which are really nice. They're me doing what I do and a few others, but we don't have a platform. I mean, is it in your best interest to run on a pro-Arab American platform as a politician? And I don't mean just you, but any elected official. Yeah, that's not easy to do.
Well, I think it has to be a values, no matter who you are, you have to reflect your residency and your constituency, right? So in order to run in this district, the district where, what is it? About 20 or 25% of the population is Muslim, Arab, or South Asian. And they have a lot of the same issues, right? I think you have to have that as part of your platform. So anybody that runs in Illinois 6 at the local, municipal, county, federal, or state level has to understand those issues and what's important to them. But it's everybody, right? So, I sat on the small business committee because that's what my district wanted me to do. I sat on transportation and infrastructure, and that's what my district wanted me. I ran on healthcare for everybody, economic equity, no corporate money, and matters of the environment, because that's what the district wanted. Every single time I ran on those things. So if you're going to run in that footprint, you do have to understand your constituency and represent their needs, and I did. And so, as I always say, no regrets. Like, if I was to do it all over again, I would do it exactly the same way, because I addressed small business needs, transportation needs. I brought more money to this district than it had ever been brought before. I got more projects done than the entire freshman class plus most of Congress. I did all the things that I was asked, and you know why? Because I had an amazing staff, and a great constituency. And then that constituency was, no more. So it was, a kind of a natural output of that.
Now, and you did introduce a lot of bills, probably more bills that I've ever seen that really address the interests of Arab Americans that were, I think, and I agree with you, these are interests that should be the interests of all Americans, doing the right thing, being fair, standing up for principles. Yet I just worry that, let's say, and I guess I should ask you out front, have you thought about running again? I know this is a tough question, and it may be early, although, we're coming up to the, first year soon, but I don't know, have you thought about running again, or it's kind of tough to run against another Democrat?
I'm definitely not thinking about it right now. I'm taking a good long break, and I may never run again. I've learned never say never.
That breaks my heart. All right.
Yeah,
I didn't support you the first time because I knew the Lipinskis so well. Yeah, I was always a little disappointed in them, but I didn't know you. And by the time I got to know you, I realized, you know what? She would be the best voice for our district. Not just for Arab Americans, but for all the issues that you ended up addressing.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I had an amazing staff and a great constituent constituency that really partnered with me, because from my perspective, it was always about partnering with my constituency, not leading them necessarily, because we're all leaders together, right? We're leading our needs. But to answer your question, I don't see me running anytime soon, and it may be never. But I have learned to not ever say never anymore, because you never know what's going to happen. But and there's appointments and that kind of thing. I'm very happy with with the way things are going right now and where I'm headed. So.
And if you had advice for the Arab American community, I mean, you probably got to know them better than any elected official in Illinois. There are some that have been very supportive and very close, but you actually got into the community. You were everywhere in the community, and not just in the Arab community. You were everywhere in the district. So I don't want to make it sound like you were just dealing with Arab Americans, but you did spend more time with Arab Americans than any other person has spent with Arab Americans. And I wonder what you learned from that, from dealing with the community.
Well, first of all, my honor. And I felt like we went to great pains. Again, that amazing staff I had, every week when we set up the calendar, we wanted to make sure that all communities received equal weight. But we also realized that early on that certain communities had been ignored. The Latino community had been ignored, and the Arab American community had been ignored. So early days, we heavied up there for sure to kind of make up for lost time, and then kind of even things out across all the other communities. But in asking about what did I learn from those communities, I learned things about life. I learned things about their needs. I learned things about solutions because we worked so closely. And so I'm forever in those communities' debts for helping me understand things at a very visceral level, because I walked in their shoes. And that was really helpful. So for me, I feel like as I move forward in all the work I'm doing now and will be doing is very helpful to have learned all those things. And I wouldn't have learned them had they not helped me learn them.
And I know that a lot of the issues that you stood for, I think Sean Casten stood for a lot of those issues. And I'm not going to criticize him so openly now, but he did tell the Arab community that he would be open to them. And after he won, he did beat the Republican contender, which I'm very happy for, but he hasn't been very conscious of the Arab American community. And is that a lesson that he's learning from what happened to you, or is it because mainstream America still doesn't identify or understand the Arab American issues? I mean, that has to be a problem for someone like you trying to explain why justice 9,000 miles away is so important to the average American down the street in Orland Park or Palos Park. That has to be very challenging when the mainstream Americans don't really get it.
Well, let's speak broadly about humanitarian rights. Our credibility in the world is really important, right? And we have to be treating everybody with respect, kindness, support, and all of those things. So no matter whether it is in Montreal, Seoul, Bangkok, Lebanon, name a place, we should be treating all countries with respect, kindness, and support of their people. When we disagree with their governments, we should speak up. It doesn't matter where it is in the world. So speaking up to the Israeli government, right now we have the most far-right Israeli government we have ever seen in since 1947. It's sort of amazing to me. Now, I ultimately think that will help in that people will understand how cuckoo they are and how beyond Trump-like they are. So I think that weirdly it will help have people wake up. But here's the news for everybody is that people under 45 may not understand the minutia and all of the details around the Palestinian-Israel struggle, but they do understand logic very, very clearly. And it is illogical that we are providing more money to that country than any other country when it is like the size of New Jersey plus Rhode Island, right? It's just illogical. So I think that there will be more spotlight on the struggles and the quite honestly the meanness and the hatefulness coming out of the Israeli government. I don't believe the Israeli people are that way at all. I don't believe the Jewish people are that way at all. So for me, I think we would all be wise to understand our reputation is at risk when we don't pay attention to humanitarian rights. I would say the same of India, by the way. I would say that, when we don't pay attention to these governmental organizations hurting and killing folks in India, I think that's a problem. I think anyone that lives in any district, any politician that is representative of any district should be paying attention to these things. I can't force them. I would say strategically, like if you're a strategic politician, it's the same as being a good person, right? Is that represent your constituency and you're going to do well. Now, if you lose a district like we did in Illinois, sometimes it's inevitable that you lose. And I did, it is what it is. We all move on. What I hope for Illinois 6, the new Illinois 6, is that I hope that partnership of the congressman and the district goes well, and that they work together on solutions like we did with my terrific staff. And I hope everybody does well. I truly, truly do. I don't know if that is happening or not, but I really, Godspeed and God bless.
I know that a Republican would not be very sympathetic to the needs of Arab Americans. It used to be the Republicans of when I was growing up as a kid and my dad was around are not the same Republicans that we see today.
Yeah, no,
they're much more mean. There's a meanness in that party. Not all of them, but there is a mean edge to it that's been terrible. Did that polarization have an impact on what you were trying to do? We at this time over the last 3-4 years, it was so polarized under the former president. And yet there's a sense that the current president isn't strong enough. There seems to be that sense. And I wonder, how do you look at that?
Yeah, let's look at the facts, right? The facts are that this president and the 117th Congress, the Congress that I was in, got more done, more legislation done, and more money back into the American economy than any other legislature and president in over 75 years. So we were prolific, got a lot done, and solved a lot of problems. I would say in President Biden, he has been the most progressive president we've had, right? In getting things, and as a result, got a lot done. Has his style or personality been the most popular? Probably not. But for me, as I always said, one of the first big campaigns I worked on was Al Gore. Well, everybody would make fun of him and say, oh my gosh, he's such a snooze fest. I'm like, well, I'm not having cocktails with him and I'm not having dinner with him. And I don't care what his personality is. Like, he's just effective. He understands what we have to get done.
Right.
And so I think when they talk about personality politics, it's a problem. And I think that's partly why the attraction of Trump. There was a whole group of people in the US that were, they wanted to have their racism open and have fun with it and be super racist and do their thing. And they had a good time with that. And they were given permission by President Trump, right? In President Biden, he is an empathetic, compassionate, loving human being. Do we agree on everything? No, there are things we definitely disagree on. Has he done a very good job? Has he gotten a lot done? Absolutely. Do we want people that are, 80 plus in the highest office? I don't have an answer to that. I wish I knew. I've met President Biden maybe 5 times in my life. He may very well be very well suited for this job. I'm not discounting what anybody's saying about, older people, but he may be fine. I just don't have an answer for that. I do know
the
that
alternative isn't good.
Well, yeah, who's going to run? Then it'll just be a super expensive primary with a bunch of very, very wealthy people jumping in. Is it going to be better? I don't know. What I do know and this is the prescriptive. I think you had part of your question was prescriptive, right? My prescription is we should be building a pipeline and a bench. So we should have people in a succession plan ready to go. And we used to do a better job of this. We're just not doing a job of it right now, is that in the Senate, there should be someone to replace Schumer, someone to replace other people in the majority in the in leadership positions. And same I think we're doing okay job in the House. I will say that, like in the House, I think that, Hakeem and the rest of his leadership team are good. And there's a pipeline of people in the House. I don't think so much in the Senate, which is problematic. And then for the presidency, I don't see any succession plan. So is there one happening? Maybe. I mean, I'm out of it now, so who knows? But we do need to have a succession plan.
Just a final question. If I were going to write a book about you as an Arab American, the title would be, "We Miss You. You did so much. How do we get you back?" What would be the title of your memoir if you were going to write a memoir of what you did? Because you did have a powerful 2 years in Congress that was very impressive.
You know what I'll tell you what I have learned since I lost the primary election is that I still want to serve underserved populations and create economic equity in the world. And what I'm doing right now and will be moving forward creates equity for underserved populations and creates greater economic equity, and everybody's every day is better. So it might be that equity for all every day, because I think that's what my amazing team and my amazing district did. That's because it is not just the staffers and me and others. It is the constituency. A has to want it, and then B works for it, and they did. They all worked their little tushies off. So I'm forever grateful for the partnership, but I will also say that we did create equity in the district and helped the equity in the nation.
Former Congresswoman Marie Newman, our guest, we so appreciate you taking the time to join us.
My pleasure. It was good to see you, and be well.
All right.
In a perfect world, everyone would be a perfect driver.
Hands at 9 and 3, everyone.
9 and 3.
Everyone would follow all the rules.
Please, go ahead and merge. I'll make room.
Thank you, fellow driver.
And nothing unexpected would ever happen. Even the squirrels would know the right time to safely cross the road. In this perfect world, you wouldn't have to wear a seatbelt. But in case you hadn't noticed, we don't live in a perfect world. About 1,000 people in Michigan die each year in vehicle crashes, and thousands more are injured. Wearing your seatbelt reduces your risk of death in a crash by 45% in a car and by 60% in a pickup truck. So until we find a perfect world to drive in, make our imperfect world safer by buckling up. A message from the Michigan Office of Highway Safety Planning.
Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493. Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab offers a great array of your favorite Mediterranean meals. Meals range from lamb specialties, shawarma sandwiches, and seafood dinners. Plus, they offer big trays of your favorite food and so much more. Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab is located at 32839 Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills and is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So stop in or call Kashat's today at 248-538-9552. That number again, 248-538-9552. Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab will definitely leave you satisfied.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Imad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Imad Nakash. See Dr. Imad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
In our Spotlight segment today, we're going to speak with former Christian Evangelical Reverend Donald Wagner. I've known Reverend Wagner for many years. He was raised in a conservative family based in New York, but eventually became one of the leading Christian voices critical of the evangelical Christian policies in the Middle East. He's been a vocal activist for Arab American and Palestinian rights for many years. He's the author of 5 books on the Middle East conflict and the Palestinians. And recently, he released his latest, a memoir called Glory to God in the Lowest. Don, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, great to be with you, Ray.
It's always a pleasure talking with you, but explain the title of the book. It's
Sure.
an unusual title. What does it mean?
Yeah, it's, when Jesus is born, the angels proclaim glory to God in the highest, peace on earth. And actually, in Jesus' life and ministry, he went to the disenfranchised. He was all about healing, justice, talked about a kingdom that was different from the Roman Empire and even of the religious leadership. So he went to the grassroots. And for me, after seminary, I served in a black church in Newark, New Jersey, very involved with the poor, and I learned to deal with my own racial prejudice, white privilege, you might say. And that really got me moving on the justice road. Also in seminary, I got active in the anti-war movement. Meanwhile, my dad was the treasurer of the Goldwater campaign and very conservative, very troubling to my family. And eventually, I discovered Palestine once when I was a pastor in a church in Evanston, Illinois. So my life has been kind of this movement to be with the disenfranchised, to give my life to justice. And I felt that's God's calling to me.
Now, back then in the 60s and 50s, when we both grew up, I think that, being a Republican then wasn't the same as being a Republican today. But evangelical,
right. Absolutely.
But the evangelical movement has been pretty consistent in this belief that there's this Armageddon coming and Jesus will arrive. And before Jesus, who many Muslims view as a prophet, but Christians believe is a son of God, that before he can come down here, the reestablishment of Israel has to take place. Exactly. And that seems to be the foundation of the evangelical movement. How does an evangelical like you transform even dealing with helping poor people to become such a strong voice for Palestinians and Arab Americans?
Well, I think I began to see, even by high school, that end time theology was a problem. Jesus didn't teach it. It's kind of a novel type of thing. And when I began to ask questions, I was told by pastors, evangelical pastors, just believe the Bible as it's written. Well, I came to see that the Bible isn't written that way. I mean, they have this view of the modern state of Israel is not the biblical Israel. Israel is used in the Bible in 4 different ways, and it's not a modern Zionist state. Also, this idea of the rapture, that Jesus is going to remove the born-again Christians before all the end-time battles, like the Battle of Armageddon, that's not in the Bible. And Jesus even says, and it's in the first chapter of Acts, just before he ascends, a couple disciples ask him, well, Lord, are you going to restore the kingdom to Israel now? And Jesus is kind of rough with them. He says, it's not for you to know the times and the seasons that God has fixed by his authority, but it's for you to be my witnesses. And what I understand, the witness is to go to those who are disenfranchised, the poor, and to meet people where they are at the grassroots. So for me, it's a total turnaround. It's not top down. It's not hierarchical. It's going to the poor. So that's, and the people who are victims of injustice. And I found that's what the Palestinians are.
So I have the book Glory to God in the Lowest, Journeys to an Unholy Land. Obviously, it's a fascinating look, but you're in the United States. It's so hard to get the voice of, justice for not just the Palestinians, but anybody, the Syrians, the Lebanese, the
Right.
Egyptians. A lot of Americans don't look and say, oh, the Palestinians. They just treat us all as Arabs, and they treat us all as Muslims. And then they see somebody like you, an evangelical Christian, standing with what they view are the enemies. What's that been like for you as an evangelical Christian? And you're still Christian, correct?
Absolutely. I'm
with
Christian.
The same beliefs.
Yeah. But I think my beliefs have shifted. The term evangelical, it's kind of misused. It's an umbrella category that has many different tendencies. And these fundamentalists like John Hagee, Jerry Falwell in the past, Pat Robertson, they're fundamentalists. They claim evangelical, but the media categorizes everyone the same. I mean, I still have many evangelical beliefs. Let me get rid of that phone call. I still have many evangelical beliefs.
Hang on 1 second. I'll do a cut there.
Yeah.
And then 3, 2, 1, Mark.
Yeah.
You can start with go ahead.
Yeah. Many evangelicals believe in justice. There's a whole movement of progressive evangelicals, like the Sojourner movement, who are very much into questioning war. Oh my God.
We'll take a break. Hang on. That's all right. We're good. You got it?
Yeah. That guy missed a Zoom call an hour ago.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
Sorry. So there's many evangelicals who believe in justice. But for me, I've come to understand Jesus as central in terms of the mission. I find Muslims who are in solidarity with me on that. Jesus is a prophet. There's more to agree with Muslims, I find, in many ways, than many of the more Orthodox conservative Jews. But then the progressive Jews, like Jewish Voice for Peace and many of the Reconstructionists, and they're beginning to get it now because of the direction Israel is going. It's kind of unraveling at the seams with this Netanyahu government. And I think this is an opportunity for us, be we Christians, Muslims, and Jews, to concentrate. The elephant in the room that drives all of this is the occupation and Palestinians. And I think we need to reframe kind of our discussions and in the churches, the mosques, but also the Jewish community is wide open now for discussion. So I think that, while it's been difficult, I mean, I lost a job at a university. I was harassed in the church because of this view. But God always opens another door. And, I think it's just been a learning process for me. So I'm not going to back off, but I think today we have more partners than we've ever had before. Many of the young Jews under 40, under 35, aren't buying the old scenario about Israel that Netanyahu is pushing. And they're critical and opening. They're leading many of the campus groups of students on Palestine. So I think it's a new opportunity. I'm encouraged, but I know it's still going to be a long haul. I will not probably live to see a Palestinian state, although I wish I would. But nevertheless, my calling is to work for it and to find partners, and we got more partners than ever.
I want to talk to you about dealing with the Arab American community, because you're in a war basically with a very large movement of evangelical Christians in a Christian American country that has been educated, rightly or wrongly, to believe in something that you and I don't believe in, that this injustice that takes place in the Middle East is something that they can deal with or that can be explained away. How do you confront a movement like that when our own community of Arab Americans are very difficult to work with? I mean, when you deal with Palestinians, you're still dealing with a very small segment of Arab Americans.
Right.
And then the rest of the Arab Americans were 22 different countries. How do you be optimistic that you can help Americans understand this issue, knowing the challenges that we have to face in the Arab community here in the United States?
Yeah, there's a couple things. I always differ between optimism and hope. Optimism is, you work at something and then you get a roadblock, you get clobbered by the opposition and whatnot. Hope is deeper. Hope is a conviction that you believe, and for me, faith kicks in at that point, that you believe you're called to something, you're going to run into roadblocks, and you have a vision down the road. And hope is what you do strategically and thoughtfully in the present. So just with that preface, I look for my partners where I can find them. If the door closes, you move on and find others. And I found a lot of friends in the Arab community, not all, but I think the Arab governments are very different. Many are now aligning with Israel, controlled by the US policy, but the people are not there. Palestine is still a celebrated case with the people of these Arab countries. So we find friends there. And again, I have seen changes. You and I go way back to the late 70s, Ray. Back then, you didn't have an organization like Jewish Voice for Peace, which is probably the strongest pro-Palestinian movement in this country. We didn't have that then. So there's a partner. We didn't have American Muslims for Peace, and they are beginning to organize. In the beginning, they stayed within themselves. Now we're working hand in glove. We have a committee in Chicago that has American Muslims for Palestine, Jewish Voice for Peace, 6 Christian denominations and secular people working on justice for Palestine. And that didn't exist before. So I've seen some change that gives me hope.
And I know the book is intended to help people better understand this, but even in that case, with all the advances, and I'm not being critical of you, obviously, or what's been done, there's been a lot of progress, but the progress seems big because we're so isolated and small under the foot of a belief in this country that we constantly can't seem to reverse. How do you deal with the Arab community to convince Americans that they need to change not only their mindset, but then extrapolate that to change our politics? Because nothing's going to change in the Middle East if American politics doesn't change. And it doesn't, absolutely. I don't believe, no matter how many people and groups support us, that we in this condition, and it's been 70 years, I'm in almost, for both of us, it's been many decades. It doesn't seem like there's a light at the end of that tunnel.
Yeah, well, I think, again, you find your alliances of people who are open to cooperate. And it is a small number. And we can't budge Biden and Blinken. They are so locked into the Zionist narrative. But I think as we find some alliances, there are more members of the House of Representatives now who are open to our message. It's not a big number, maybe 35, 40. We didn't have that even 5 years ago.
Is that our fault, though, as Arab Americans? I mean, just set aside the issue of Palestine as a cause. I get that, but are we not doing enough to advocate for that cause? I mean, the challenge, I think, is us as Arab Americans, even with great allies like you and Jewish Voices for Peace and others. It doesn't seem like we're doing enough.
Yeah, we're not. And we don't, I mean, we have so many battles within the Arab American community that, you know, kind of hamstring us. But still, I'm a little bit more encouraged now than I was even 5 years ago, because, you know, with Jewish Voice for Peace, American Muslims for Palestine, they are expanding their reach into these communities. The churches, we've got now about 8 denominations, Presbyterian, United Church of Christ, Episcopal, who are taking some strong stands on issues like Israel is an apartheid state.
Right.
And, you know, we can't get our Congress people to admit to that. But gradually, you know, as these churches work together with Muslim groups, and it isn't just American Muslims for Palestine, you got CARE and a few others. I think we're pushing some others to wake up. And I'll tell you, if Netanyahu keeps pushing this type of fascist regime, the only thing he's going to have left are a few evangelicals in this country. He's even alienating mainstream Jewish leaders. I read the other day there's over 100 Israeli American business people who are threatening to pull their funds out of Israel if he continues the direction he's going to undermine the Supreme Court. That's going to begin unraveling the picture a little bit and questioning what Zionism does in its hold. So
is that more hope or reality? Because it sounds like, you know, whenever we progress, we might be this small, and then we move a little bit and we double our size. Saying doubling our size could still mean such an and I'm not trying to demean what's going on, but I just see the challenge. Are we going to have to wait 4 generations of Ray Hananias and Donald Wagner to see change in the United States?
I don't think it'll be that long. I think our kids, our children, mine are in their 30s now. They're going to see change in a couple decades. I think Israel is accelerating, you know, it's kind of pathetic narrative and beginning to unravel. We're seeing a sign. They're going to do a lot of damage in the next 20 years. They can expel most of the Palestinian population right now and get away with it. But that is shifting. And I think one of our big hopes are actually the Jewish community and the churches. You know, and a lot of these churches now are going after these Christian Zionist extremists and challenging them. Even evangelicals are shifting.
So maybe we have to do a better job of winning more alliances in the Jewish American community.
Yeah.
Bring the Arab American community together.
Bring them along.
Your book, Glory to God in the Lowest, with my guest, Reverend Donald Wagner, the author of 5 books, including this latest one, which just came out. It's a fascinating read. I hope Arab Americans buy it. I hope they read it, because one of the sad things is we get very emotional. We use all the hot topic words. We sit around, pat each other on the back, but are they supporting you? Are they buying your book? If they're not doing that, I wonder if they have the stamina to have a long generational fight to achieve justice.
Yeah,
Donald,
and then we
got
got
30 seconds.
Our Congress. Yeah, then we got the Congress to deal with. Ray, thank you so much.
Thought. You're welcome, Don. I appreciate it, and I hope people will enjoy your book, Glory to God in the Lowest, that they'll buy it, read it, and enjoy learning about a life that has spent so much time trying to help the Arab world, Palestinians, and in the context of the Arab American community. Reverend Donald Wagner, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ray. Appreciate it.
في الشتاء نقضي معظم أوقاتنا في الأماكن المغلقة مع كثير من الناس، سواء كان ذلك لتشجيع الفريق الرياضي المفضل أو الاحتفال مع العائلة والأصدقاء أو السفر لقضاء عطلة بعيدة. ساعد في حماية نفسك وعائلتك والآخرين في المجتمع لتستمتع بشتاء آمن. حافظ على تلقي أحدث جرعة من لقاح كوفيد-19 والإنفلونزا. لمعرفة المزيد يرجى زيارة michigan.gov/COVID-vaccine. رسالة من وزارة الصحة والخدمات الإنسانية في ولاية ميشيغان.
Are you going to start a restaurant or a grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Dana, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
Well, I hope you enjoyed both interviews with Marie Newman and with the Reverend Donald Wagner this morning. I want to thank you for listening to our interviews on Radio Baladi. I'm Ray Hanania again. You can get more information on my opinion columns, my writings on Arab Americans, and also on mainstream American politics. I write a lot about Chicago politics, Illinois politics, and U.S. politics. And if you want, you can subscribe to my free e-newsletter by visiting my website at www.hanania.com. Hanania. Don't forget, I'll also be launching season 3 of the Ray Hanania radio show, which is broadcast now every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Beginning next week on May 3rd. At 5 p.m., sponsored by Arab News newspaper and the U.S. Arab Radio Network. It focuses on news about the Arab American community. I hope you'll listen. Thank you so much. You guys have a great week. Bye-bye, everybody.